everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight for another episode of the Artist Connection. We have a dynamic lineup today. Tonight, you guys are going to get some fire, fire, fire. I'm going to pass the mic to my co host, AJ. AJ, introduce the next poet.
Or introduce the first poet.
The first poet, yes.
Thank you for having me. This is such a, whew, yeah. I want to get into it immediately. What's up, Matri?
What's up, man? I see you, Juan.
Yeah, yes, sir, yes, sir. Now, the first artist that we're gonna bring up is a woman that I spoke to about her fan, and she is born in Carbondale and moved to Pittsburgh, and she's going to tell us the rest of her story. This is Couture.
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name's Katora Vactor. I lived in Carbondale, Illinois. Was raised there for a little bit, and then I moved to Pittsburgh for most of my life. And I went to California University. I was a student athlete there. Then I transferred to Kutztown University. And throughout that time, I went through what a lot of people go through: trials, tribulations, failures, and I felt like I didn't have the support that I needed. So I failed a lot. And through those failures, I found myself. And I had to hold on to so many different identities, going to private schools and then getting out of private schools and then going to other different schools and just feeling like I was so alone. So I think up until this moment, until now, I finally found my calling, and it was to write. And I think I knew that all along, but it was one of those things where I just felt like I just wasn't confident enough to put myself out there and go for my dreams. So I finally did that last year when Community Literature Initiative found me. And it was, I just came from a conference that I met so many other wonderful poets and educators, and how I met Drea the poet too. It was about 2 weeks ago, and I met so many other poets that was telling me the same story of how Community Literature Initiative just found them. I thought they were spam at first in my email, and I got a call, and I was like, I didn't, send any submissions in for my poetry, and they were like, well, we seen some of your work, and we want to interview you. And it's been history from there. So I just finished up this spring. I'm going in, I finished up, this spring, and I'll be going into the fall, and I'll be writing my first piece of poetry, and it's called I Found My Voice. And Drea, you want me to go into a poem?
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Bless her mic.
yeah, okay. Oh, also too, I just accepted a position as an art coordinator at a library that's very popular in Pittsburgh. So if anybody has any pieces of artwork that they have, and it doesn't have to be like drawings or paintings, it can be anything. I would love to be able to put us on a pedestal, because it's in an area that would be awesome for us, for our community. So if anybody has that information, please send me the email. Maybe I'll post it in the chat or whatever. We'll get from there. But
Couture, what was the name of your first collection? What's the name of your first collection?
Colorblind in the Eyes.
Colorblind in the Eyes. Okay.
So the poem that I'm going to chat. Oh, okay. The first poem I'm going to be reading to you guys is the first poem I ever did. And it was during a time, I would say like 2 years ago, right before COVID. And it was so many shootings and so many things that was going on. And I felt myself becoming desensitized to normal things that we shouldn't be desensitized to. But I felt like I had to, because it was too much. So that's how my first poem was originated. colorblind in the eyes. You see, waking up ain't been the same. I feel numb, body's hurting, full of pain. Words can't describe, feelings can't deny it. This sickness in my stomach is becoming too much. Tragedies on deaf ears, sorrow in my gut. Since I was a seed, this is all I've seen. My people dying in the streets, begging for some type of release. Release from this nightmare we call the US. United we stand, divided we fall. I call BS. You see, there's a few clauses on that dotted line. Approach with caution or get to the back of the line. You got two options: no justice, no peace, or go colorblind. Colorblind in the eyes filled with pride. They refuse to see. It's easier, you see. Refuse to admit what's deep down inside. As children, we all learned colors. No color was special than the other. But somehow we all knew black just wasn't the color. It's ugly. It's dirty. It's sad. You see, from a young age, we only associate it with being bad. Colorblind doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. Watch the news. Listen to the narrative. Read between the lies. You see, most don't get to truly see behind those blurred lines. From the books we read at a young age to the TV screens paved with propaganda and bias exchange, there's no way out. Colorblind is the name of the game.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's incredible. Where can we find your work? You said that. What was the name of the first book? When I asked you what was your first collection, you
Oh,
told
no,
me that was your piece that you were about to do. What's the name
yes.
of your first book that you're about to publish?
The first book that I'm about to publish this winter, Lord willing, it will be I Found My Voice
I
by Couture
found my
Backers.
voice.
Sorry,
Oh,
I misunderstood you. But
okay.
my first
Okay.
collection of work will be I Found My Voice,
I
my
found my
first
voice.
piece. Hmm.
Yes, you did, and we didn't even hear the fan either. That was a beautiful thing.
I was worried
Right on
about
time. Right on time. Right on time.
you gonna leave me with that.
That's right. I'm gonna pass the mic over to A. Lee.
Okay, thank you so much for that piece. That was much needed. Next up to bless our mic is Boogie. Boogie, tell us about yourself, what you have going on in the community, any upcoming events, and then bless our mic.
Wow. Long story longer. Nomad, lived a little bit every place, started in Cleveland. Now I'm in Pomona, California. Poetry slam champion, Apollo legend, recorded with a whole bunch of people, win a lot of stuff. I'm not big into resumes. I'm a poet and I'm also a therapist. And that's what I'm working on. I work in a mix of a private practice and an IMD, and that's for people who've been conserved. So yeah, and poets are just unlicensed psychologists anyway. So I was always doing it. Um, right now, I have a book out called Dear James, and I have a bunch of books out. If you want to buy my books, only one of them is on Amazon, and that's called The Relationship Cookbook, and that's as a therapist, as a poet. It's thebookpatch.com, and just look up the Boogeyman, and you can find all my books. It's like 6 of them. And then I have a play that I'm doing in Long Beach in July 29th, August 5th, and August 12th. I put a link in the chat. Online tickets only. It's a immersive multimedia play, film, poetry extravaganza, and I break the fourth wall, so you're part of the play when you come in. And that's what I'm working in. And we also have Charles Reese, who's an internationally known actor who has played James Baldwin for 25 years. He's actually playing the spirit of James Baldwin, and he appears through film. So he's not physically in there, but we have conversations. through James Baldwin's words. And so that's what I'm up to right now. And also starting a nonprofit that is going to be a middle person for people who need help but don't want to go to therapy or might not need therapy. So it's going to be 1 to 3 day psychological interventions to help you work through anxiety, stress, ADHD, all that kind of stuff. And then if you still need more, we help you actually develop a concept of therapy and then help you find a therapist. So that's what I'm doing. So okay, that's enough about me. So the poem I'm reading now is I wrote in response to all of the gun violence and the stupid rhetoric around it. It's called Amended Family. All righty then. I'm looking for a tutor. Instruction on how to love guns more than children and life. I'm not that skilled at indifference. Please only apply if you're willing to choose school shootings and church and mosque massacres over background checks and weapon bans. And when there are no more children and conception is collateral damage, you can teach classes on how to birth Glocks and raise bullets, sit in corners in company parking lots and battlefields, cheer them on as they learn to siphon life and leave the world empty. Hold them like they are alive, like they will care for you, visit and talk to you in the years where lights dim and muscles return their strength to the dust. Provide you assault weapon grandchildren with high capacity magazines. Love them like they have never robbed a womb or a family. Love them to death. And that's it. It's a short one.
Yes, thank you so much for that piece. Y'all coming with the important pieces first. I see y'all. I'm passing the mic back to AJ. AJ, the mic's on you.
And I'm so glad that you passed the mic to me because I'm about to pass the mic to a brother who is, see, every once in a while, you come across uh, brotherhoods or alliances where you might know somebody for years, but you may not formally meet. I had the pleasure of meeting him and his queen in February just through chance that I was volunteering at the Pan African Film Festival. And we had been knowing each other through Clubhouse for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And brother's been saying, come on, I got the Raquel's Jazz Lounge and the IE. I'm like, brother, I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. I'm telling you, I'm gonna get there. And here we are again. What a blessing. This is so encouraging. I love my brother. And I'm going to introduce for any of you who don't know, this is Brother Michael Matry.
Man,
Hey,
brother. We keep crossing paths. I'm beginning to believe that it's divine. Um,
It is. It is.
uh, like AJ said, my name is Michael Matry. I started off as an inspirational speaker first, inspirational speaker, life coach, host, and I still do those things. But poetry is something that I madly fell in love with about 10 years back. And it's been a progression for me. Everything has been a progression. And what I realize about poetry is just such a reflection of life. So a lot of my poetry ends up being more spiritual in nature, but more on the life coaching, inspirational side. Um, but there's range there because even in that, there's the feels that come with poetry, the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights. So I started off on Clubhouse. Um, Brief thing about me is that I took the show that I was curating on Clubhouse and then we brought it live with a real band and artists, local artists from Southern California, and it turned out to be good, just as good as it was on the Clubhouse platform. So I'm grateful for that. It's called Up From Here Poetry. And so that's what I'm representing today. We have a show coming up on July 19th. Many of the faces you see here have blessed the stage. That Boogie's been a main eventer for our show as well. So this is an amazing poetry community. So I'm so grateful to share stages with such amazing talent and amazing people. Um, so that's that. And then I'm a recording artist and a poet, and I do shows in LA and things of that nature. But really, I'm trying to invest in my business because, you know, as time goes on, you want something that can surpass you. So, who? What to share? Okay, I'm ready. You ready? I'm ready. I will just love again. I will just feel again. I know my heart is flawed, but I have been renewed by freedom. Have you ever been under a deep sleep? Deeper than your mind or your kind can reach, you know what kind. Your kind. The fog you always running from behind, watching life pass you by while you stuck outside of your mind. That kind. No reconciliation of the man you used to be. Or do your days run together like you're repeating the same dream? The one where you are about to reach your finish line, and right when you are about to reach your medal, bam, you get knocked down so hard that you gotta have faith and no weapon formed against me turns into I just pray to get to breathe, sit and bleed. No sense of getting up now. You have 2 miles to feed. How will it get done, Mike? How will you look them in the eye and say, Daddy's not the one that you could barely survive your childhood for the second time? The kind where you play in your mind. Trauma repeats itself while it clears its throat. Trauma repeats itself while it grabs you by the throat. Trauma repeats itself while it echoes through your ears, capitalizing on every self-deprecating word, all cap. No fear, no joke. I'm a riddle in my own life sentence, putting meaning to every meaning that never had any meaning, and damn, where am I? Boom.
We doing shorties up in it. We doing shorties up in here. We just
Yes.
circling the block quick. Matry. So much emotion and so much meaning. Every line. The motivational speaking is always rife in every piece I hear. You just beautiful brother, man. This is
Appreciate it.
it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, you one of the main reasons I came through today. I was like, Matry up in here.
Stop it,
I'm
man.
I'm up in here. No,
I came
I
to
ain't
the
stopping it.
top. I did not always get to the floor.
I'm gonna say it at the mountaintop so everybody
Oh,
here.
man.
Anastasia
I
F with the fourth flames. Yeah, yeah, that's
thank
right. That's right.
I
I'm gonna
appreciate
pass the mic.
Anastasia.
Oh, Anastasia, excuse me. I'm
it.
not,
Yeah.
phonetically correct. Anastasia with the F's, the four flames. Excuse me. I'm gonna pass the mic over to A. Lee.
That was fire. Thank you so much for that piece. Coming up next to the mic, we have a phenomenal mic dropping poet. She came out here to support and visit me, and we were going around, and people thought she was royalty. Give it up one time for my girl, Janae. Bless her, Mike. Tell us what you got going on in the community.
What's going on, everybody? It's kind of, hard to not to follow everybody, but like I just was in the mode of listening. I want to hear some more. So, but I did go out to Cali. It was a blessing. Every day was a blessing. So what's going on, sis? Hey, Anastasia. So yeah, I was at CLI doing all the things, doing all the talks, and then I performed with Andrea, and that was a blessing. And it was such a beautiful, like a thing you never see. Everybody in that room was there to celebrate her, and they did, and they celebrated each other. And so it was such a beautiful space to be in. Like, things don't happen like that often. Sometimes there's shade being thrown, people come so they can gossip later on, but it was nothing but love. And so it was a blessing to be there. So I started painting in May. That's one of the things I got going on. So when I got there, she was like, why you didn't tell me you paint? So I painted 2 pictures, sold them joints for $500 and $250 for the other one. And so, so now, in addition to doing poetry, I also paint, and I'm building my collection as we speak. So I have I have an exhibition coming up here in North Carolina, which is where I'm from, in December, because my birthday is the 12th. And I was like, I'm gonna do it like my sis did. So it's gonna be a book release, art exhibit, and my birthday all at one time. So,
And I'm there.
and you're there December 9th. Mark your calendars. At my sister's coffee shop, Queen Coffee Bean in High Point, North Carolina. I also started my publishing company, For Word Publishing, because it's all for the word, it's all for God, it's all for and the love of the word. And everything I do is by him and for him, and his love and power just cycles through me, and I just cycle it back out and show his glory. So that's what I have going on now. I know that in the coming months I'll have more dates where I'm performing poetry, and I've been looking for places to put my pictures up as well as doing my site, so I keep everybody abreast of those things. The first poem I'm going to do is called He Who Has Ears. If a tree falls in the forest and no one is around, if there's no ear to catch it, does it make a sound? Now, at first glance, at initial askance, this may not seem all that profound on its face till you do a little digging around. See, the essence of the inquiry about that lonesome toppled topiary is really about significance and whether it is inherent in existence or is it the byproduct of circumstance of a present spectator who has eyes to see. Do I matter in and of myself just because I am made of matter, taking up space on life's shelf? Or do I need to be beheld, captive in a mass of pupils? And if so, what about their scruples? I mean, in their seeing, are they looking to? Are they looking at? Or with open hearts looking through? And say, if no one is watching, am I still here or am I see-through? This may sound like ramblings, but for real, slow down and take time to think about what I'm really saying in these measured lines. We all have or have had that question in our hearts. At some point in your life, you were jolted with a start, bolted upright with a smart, a pain that hurt your heart, thinking, man, do I matter at all? But I come bearing good news. Go ahead and put on your dancing shoes, or just bask with a satisfied smile if you choose, because I could sum it up in short order. Yes, oh yes, you do matter. I'm serving up reassurance on a silver platter, piecing back self-esteem that was shattered. Hear me again when I say, yes, you matter. I know because God told me. If you smart, you know Jehovah knows every gold thing. Anything worth knowing is known by the trifold Elohim, and he knows you. His eye firmly pressed into you glued, especially when you feel blue. Only one set of footprints, because it was in those times that he was carrying you. And on that cross, he bled and died for you, just you. As if this planet only ever housed one inhabitant. I came here to tell you a tree fell over 2,000 years ago, and it's been making noise ever since. Are you listening?
Woo! I'm listening. I'm gonna pass. That was fire. I'm gonna pass the mic back to AJ Wong.
I'm listening. I'm listening too, Janae. I was too cold. It's a pleasure finally seeing your face because we met last week, right? Over the phone. You caught me sneaking a 16 on the mic, huh? We'll talk about that a little bit later. Next coming up on the mic is a brother that's brand new to me. As a matter of fact, brand is a part of his name. And his last name is my first name, even though we spell it different. I'll say you spelling yours wrong. But this is my brother, Brandon Allen. Let's go, brother.
Everybody, can you hear me?
A little bit. You kind of chopping in and out.
Can you hear me better now?
Much better.
Brother. Welcome, brother.
What's up, man? What's up? I'm super excited to be on here with such amazing poets. I'm looking at everybody that's here, like legends in the building, people I'm getting to know, people who I already know, people who I'm fans of, like that I've gotten to see perform, that I perform with. some phenomenal people here. So my name is Brandon Christopher Allen. I'm a spoken word artist, motivational speaker, inspirational individual, creative entrepreneur, father, and most of all, son of God. I feel like what I get the opportunity to do is serve. And I believe that I'm put on this earth to serve as many people as I possibly can. Some of us get to serve through different capacities. Some of it's through what we do in our workspace. Some of it's through what we have like in these day-to-day encounters. I feel like I've been given words of inspiration, motivation, encouragement, and definition. I feel like I've been put on earth to speak life to those who couldn't find life within themselves. And the reason why I understand that is because I was one of those people who didn't understand my journey, who didn't understand my voice, who was muzzled as a child, who felt like the little boy inside of me had no story to tell. So I had to fight, overcome, and find myself persevering to be able to know what it felt like. And I needed somebody to help me find myself into victory, help guide me into what it looks like to find myself into success. So I decided that I'm going to be there for everybody. I'll be a bridge for as many people as I can, a voice for the voiceless, speak up for those who can't speak for themselves, and I refuse to relent as long as I can see somebody come to the life that they deserve to. I'm an author. I wrote the book, a poetry book called This Little Boy. It's a story of me overcoming my own journey from the little boy that I was to the teenager to the man, all the way to the father that I am today. In my poetry book, it has QR codes to where you can act. It has illustrations, but also like QR codes where you can actually see. I don't know if you see a QR code yet, but it's here. And you can actually watch me perform the poem if you scan the QR code. But I decided I didn't want to just share my own story of healing and allow you to watch me to perform poems of my own healing, but I wanted to give opportunity for others to heal too. So I created This Little Boy's Writer's Workbook. So you actually get to journey through your own story of healing with snapshots of the poem, motivational tips, mindful moments, creative aspects and thoughts, and coping skills so you can practice this in your real life, and you can journal and do your own poetry every day. I'm the program director for a nonprofit called Rescue a Generation. What we get to do is we get the opportunity to work with students and life coach them back into academic and behavioral success. We're in about 40 schools around the Inland Empire and the IE place. And I just try to be an inspiration to those who I'm around. I love hard. And I feel like love is the cure to all of these different things that we've seen in this world that are continuing to ail us. I'm not one with all the answers. I'm not one with all the solutions, but I will be one that will love you until we find one. Man, I also, last thing I'll say this, I created this thing called Youth Writers Camp, to where I walk students through a 10-week social emotional process, to where I teach them how to manage their emotions based on the American Psychology Association. They said that these are 8 ways to help students manage their emotions, while also I use creative writing as a coping technique. At the end of it, I help every single one of the poets that go through my process become published poets as well. And I help them become, as teenagers between the ages of 12 to 18. They manage their emotions, they get taught coping mechanisms, they sit with a therapist, and they become published poets and entrepreneurs within our 10-week process. I have a cohort right now, so if you know a teenager that might benefit, let me know. All right, I'm gonna get into this poem. A lot of my story is about overcoming, fighting away the person who I used to be, being able to know where I'm going in victory, and dealing with this idea that I'm no longer that dead person who used to live, but I'm living in a new way. But I have to kind of go through this journey of healing. This is a poem that I've never read. It's actually my newest piece. This is the first time of me ever reading it. I might mess up, but I feel like this is a safe place. And the boogeyman super like encouraged me, because I want to do like a one-man show or like an experience. And what you're doing, I'm gonna get tickets because I want to see and learn and glean from you. And I think this is one of the pieces where I might be able to do something like that. It's gonna have some dialogue. So it's called Green Mile. And I'm sorry for that long intro, y'all.
Don't be sorry. This is what we're here for. We want to get to know you, Brandon. I know you, so I want everybody else to know you, the fire dope poet that you are. Let's go.
Thank you. All right, it's called Green Mile. Dead man walking here. Dead man walking, make room for the dead man. This man is vile, villainous in act, and has been for a while. He's roamed these here pride lands, seeking whom to devour, shrouded in disguise, a foul and sneaky prowler. At first glance, he seems innocent, doused in pretentious charisma. His smile gleams in elegance, but that's just what he's practiced in the mirror. Inside, his breath smells of deceit, smells of salacious whispers still dripping from the ears of his victims, smells of graveyards he's dug with his tongue entangled in lackluster promises unkept, undressed, the commitment to the promises they kept for themselves, left them bare, naked, covered in compromise. And when they tried to exchange it for currency, it wasn't even worth the lies. Dead man walking. Dead man walking here. This man walked around in the image manufactured for self-expression and preservation. Dedication to pulling the wool over the eyes of sheep and shepherds. To prevent recognizing his behavior, he labored in false pretense and bathed in manipulation. Dead man walking here. Make room for the dead man. This man wrote his statement while in interrogation, exclaiming, I never meant to hurt them. I just developed an overwhelming thirst for self-gratification. I bit into fleeting moments and drank them dry. Inside became residence to all things that died. Impatience bred with me my insecurities, birthed a monster that wreaked havoc to my character, enslaved my integrity. It beat and bruised my self-esteem until I abandoned my reality. It took hostage my hope until it ransomed destiny, left purpose in purgatory, put truth in a chokehold, until I submitted to sabotage, massacred my emotions until all I could do was trauma bond. Dead man walking. Here comes that dead man. We asked him, why plead guilty now? He laughed and smiled and said, I've been a walking terrorist. Teamed up with tempters, a billboard for the broken, a ransacked refugee camp for the religiously injured. I have lived uncensored. Dead man walking. Why now? Why now? Because I became my greatest victim. Here approaches the dead man. I was told that in exchange for a guilty plea, I'd be offered clemency. Crimes no longer charged to me, slate completely white queen. Dead man walking. I didn't believe it at first because for so long I carried shame like a first prize ribbon that pinned it to my chest, pricking my pride. I was told that I have to lay that aside. Surrender, they said. Dead man walking. They called it repentance, I guess. Dead man walking. For my rap sheets, crimes and arrests. Dead man walking. They gave me forgiveness instead. Dead man. They said my bail has been paid. Dead man. In fact, he made an exchange. Dead man. This man is dead in my place. Dead man walking. They said this man had died and they called it grace. Dead man walking. They screamed, dead man walking. They said that they've never seen a dead man walking. They couldn't believe that this dead man's walking. Touch and see that a dead man's walking, yet a man like this, how dead could he be?
Woo! Woo! Okay.
Good night, everybody.
I told you guys it was gonna be fire up in here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. If the boogeyman inspired you, we got to thank the boogeyman first for him being the inspiration. And brother, you just, oh man, that was theatrical. That was a one-man stage play, and we just got like the first act of it right there. We're looking forward to you building around that. That was beautiful, man.
I'm about to cash up you my payment for my ticket right now.
Straight up. Straight up. Hey Lee, mic is on you.
The mic is up. Okay. Whew. So these last two poets coming up. Now, I've seen Maestro perform a few times. Dope, 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 dope show. I love his energy. Um, he commands the room. He stands up for what is right respectfully, and I appreciate that. And Saint Deal. We were in class together. She's always, so gracious and beautiful. I don't know why she don't have her beautiful self on the screen, but that's for a discussion for another day. But next coming up to bless our mic is Maestro. Maestro, tell us about yourself, what you have going on in the community, any upcoming events, and then bless our mic.
Hey, peace and blessings. It's your boy, Maestro Sean. And if everybody who's ever watching your favorite cousin, I say that in all of my videos now. I've had the opportunity to share the stage with majority of the people on this panel. So it's a blessing to see Boogie, Michael, Brandon, and all the poets that I don't know. Also, Andrea, it's beautiful to share the stage with you. I've also shared the stage with Caleb, the poet, Emerald Green, Malik Youssef, who was a Grammy Award winning poet and writer, Jay Ivy, who won the first spoken word Grammy. So that's just a phenomenal thing. So I got to give a shout out to Elena Love. I got to give a shout out to all the Chicago poets too, because I mean, LA gets all the love out here, but I got to remember my roots. I'm originally from Chicago, went to the University of Illinois, studied communication there. And I've had a lot of beautiful things along my journey. I was a spoken word spotlight for WGCI. I featured at Speak Cafe at the University of Illinois. Featured at Up for Here with Michael Maitre. Cultural Cool with Elena Love. The Post Poetry Festival, which was the first one this year, which was a beautiful thing. And what's funny is I didn't even do poetry. I got to sing. So that's always a blessing. And I just most recently, and Andrea was there to support me along with some other beautiful faces. The Sounds of Sanity Festival just happened this past weekend. I'm currently working on a couple projects. One is going to be a mixtape, and I think it's going to be entitled Mosaic. It's going to have R&B, soul, a lot of tributes to the 90s. And then I'm also working on a project that's going to be a full album. So look out for that. At least one of those is dropping this year, and then the other one will drop in next year. But besides being a poet and a singer, I also have something that's near and dear to my heart. It's called Here for Love. And Here for Love is a social campaign to help people who experience homelessness. So we have done campaigns in Chicago, we've done it in the IE, we've done it in Long Beach, we've done it in LA, we've done it in Atlanta, and we're looking to expand and do it in other cities too. Because if we are all we are all human and we all get to be treated as such. So our goal is to make them feel as human as possible, make sure they're fed, make sure they're clothed, and make sure they feel human. But with that said, I would love to do my very first poem. It's from my first EP called Along This Journey. And this poem is called Broken Silences. And I hope you enjoy it. Sorry. As internal silence becomes the rage that has engulfed me, I cry tears of untold stories, unable to express stifled emotions, becoming the lost voice of previous generations. I carry the weight of the world on my shoulders, shifting its abundance to bear the pain, and I never have expected you to understand. Broken pieces of shattered dreams becomes the reality of my existence. Validating my presence is just another burden. My heart has become incarcerated, unable to love another because I'm still trying to figure out what love is. On the brink of another night of confusion, searching, and solitude, I bear witness to the angst of not being accepted, by selflessness being mistaken for selfishness because my good has been evil spoken of. And in the search for redemption, I proved myself 1,000 times only to be called a contradiction. Who am I? A question that haunts me, but renders no answers. However, my search continues, tired of shedding tears of oppression because I matter. Years of misunderstanding becomes the foundation for conflict as ignorance becomes a new source for evil. Perhaps if you walked a mile or two in my shoes, you'd understand that my story is composed of more than just a fairy tale. As the rising actions lead to the climax, there are many tears cried and much blood lost, but the conclusion never really resolves anything. So is this all in vain? Is this all in vain? Is this all in vain? Because I've lived in silence for too long and I must have a voice. And that's Broken Silences.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that piece. It was beautiful. My friend that came to support you with me was in the chat. She was commenting on your piece. I'm gonna pass the mic back to you, AJ.
Okay, okay. The next on the mic is a sister who said, "Yo, I got the hat. I'm just gonna rock the hat. The profile is better, and we just gonna rock the profile picture and let that." Oh, there she goes. There she goes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. This will be my first time. I've been hearing so much about you and looking forward to hearing you live. This is Saint Dill, like Nina Simone.
Definitely. Hey y'all, what's up? How y'all doing? I'm actually super excited to be here because I've been seeing Andrea post these every week, every day. And I'm like, definitely got to get on that. So first and foremost, thank you, Andrea, for inviting me. Thank you for always being a beautiful spirit every time went to class, go to CLI or anything poetry related, and Andrea is there. And she cooked good, so that's my love language. So we already cool on that note too. But Andrea is really the truth, and I love what you're doing with bringing artists together. That leads me into my little spiel about what I do because I definitely am in that mode as well of getting artists together. So I'll guess I'll start with my recent thing. So as you can see in the bio, I did found a entertainment company, Pure Heart Entertainment. It's based on Matthews 5:8. Blessed are the pure at heart, for they shall see God. um, because no matter what you're doing in life, as long as you're maintaining a pure heart, which means authenticity and truth, and spreading God's love, whatever you're going to do is going to prosper because you're spreading love and you're spreading good things and positivity. So that's really what it's all about, trying to reach the masses. I just started a monthly poetry feature and artist exhibition called Mikes and Muses that I host in West Adams at Johnny's Pastrami's. There's a bar next door, and it definitely went off with a hitch. We sold out the first event. So that was really, really beautiful. I had a few, thank y'all. That's so sweet. I'm gonna drop all my Instagram accounts in the chat after this little spiel, but I had a few World Stage Press poets, some Mama Kitchen Press poets, if you know Fly High Two Wise. That's her Instagram handle. She featured, and then I also had one of my homegirls that I met. She works for the Shade Room, but if anybody is here is a part of the D9 Black Greek organizations, I'm a Delta. So in terms of music, it's poetry and music. So she came. She has a Pretty Girl Freestyle. She's an AKA. But I love her, and she came and rocked the mic. So I'm trying to. We're definitely doing another event, which brings me to my next point. The next event will kind of be on July 19th, which is my. Let me turn this little backdrop thing off so I can just show you real quick. Okay, there we go. Hey y'all, what's up? So this is, let me turn it upside, there we go. This is my debut poetry collection Sensations Volume 1 that will be releasing through World Stage Press in what's today? In 13 days. So on July 19th. Yes. Thank you. Uh yeah, just I'll drop everything's on Instagram. It's sad, but yeah, it is. So all the links are there to purchase. I think the in-person tickets are $10, virtual $6, and then the book is $20. But there's a lot of amazing things there. That's like kind of like my current thing outside of bringing artists together, pushing this book. I also am publishing Sensations Volume 2. This is basically kind of like pieces of it, but that's coming out probably like in September through Bookleaf Publishing. So that's also in the works. Volume 2 is definitely much more spicier than Volume 1. Volume 1 is very cathartic, and it's a testimony. It's a journey. I started writing Volume 1 when I was 16 years old. I'm born and raised from South Central LA. Grew up in Slauson and 53rd, 50s, if you know LA. And then so my first career, though, I am a filmmaker. I have a bachelor's in film from Berkeley and a master's in fine arts and film from Columbia. So my natural trade is visual arts. I also am earning a master's in education. I teach eighth grade English at a charter school in Hyde Park. So I'm trying to bridge all three: education, film, and poetry together. I used to teach at Dorsey High School. I did a open mic poetry slam there, and all my students produced their own poetry books, which there's going to be a special edition of Volume 1 that has my students' poems in it. So that's going to be available at Dorsey High School Library. Um, and if you're available this Saturday, speaking of poetry and education, I'm hosting a workshop that I facilitated and designed the curriculum for. It's part 2. It's the intermediate. We did the beginning workshop on June 10th, but it's with the Los Angeles Public Library. And I'm doing a workshop channeling poetry through film. So it's basically showcasing my graduate study research plus my just vision with helping people create visual mediums for their literature. And so, yeah, I definitely want to get into some poems. I probably do a whole bunch of other stuff, but I think I said a lot of stuff. If you want to work out, I'm a fitness trainer / yoga instructor. That's like on a side note. I also do hair. It's hot if you need some braids, if you need anything, just hit me up. But yeah, that's like side stuff. Um, and probably some other stuff, but I think we're gonna get into this poem. I was trying to figure out which poem I was gonna do, but I think I wanna, I'm listening to Spirit, and Spirit's telling me to do this little number from the book. So this is called How I Became the Other Woman. For years, I loved, cherished, and nurtured your ego. I never left it idle. I cradled your fears in my bosom until there was no more pain left to feel. I wonder who made your sun shine in the moments you wanted to storm most? Who made your flowers bloom in darkness and tended to your darkest more than her own? I wonder. Small returns on large dividends. I kept a holdout then. I knew my currency was worth more than this exchange rate, but I kept on dealing. It was love. Hell, it was pain too. I kept on loving because to me the potential was so much greater than the loss. I saw a bigger picture through negatives and exposures. We just couldn't capture the beauty of it. Now I'm the other woman, and that's okay because I was never really yours in the first place. I just served my purpose. You're welcome. Yeah, so thanks. This collection is a plethora of feelings, is pain, patience, and power. So it's exploring um, healing journey. I am a childhood sexual survivor, violence. I'm probably mixing that up, but I ain't gonna lie. I had a little sip to knock off the nerves. But this collection is really like my testimony of my healing journey from age 16 till mid 20 something, and is really encompassing a lot of different themes and the experiences of the human journey. So hopefully you check it out July 19th. And thank y'all for being here. Y'all are so amazing.
Thank you. Also, I'll be cooking at her event, so don't forget to tell them
Yes.
that. We still have to
Yes.
discuss the menu.
Yes, we do. But first and foremost, let me just insert Andrea just dropped her book. It's in my library, but I will have it right here on the desk. It's in the library. I've been reading a couple of poems, and I'm just like, Drea, there we go. There we go. She just dropped it. The event was amazing. If you didn't make it, you definitely missed out on the best book release I've ever been to, first and foremost. Don't know how I'm going to top that. But you got to get her a book. Like every day, I kid you not, I read like 2, 3, 4 poems, and I'd be like, Andrea is really the truth. Like, I feel like I'm getting to know her more and more as a woman, as an artist, as a poet by reading her book. And I appreciate you sharing that with the world. So if
Thank you
you
so much.
haven't got connections between us, please go and purchase it ASAP.
Thank you. Appreciate you. I'm gonna have another event because some people bought tickets and was not able to make it. One person being Brandon. So I want to make sure everybody get, the book and get the experience. It probably won't be as fancy, but I'm gonna make sure it happens. Coming up next to bless our mic again, we're gonna roll it back around. You ready?
I'm ready.
You got something else for us?
Yes, I do. I do.
Okay,
Um,
bless our mic.
this this piece actually I read at the conference, at the writers conference that just happened 2 weeks ago, and this piece also was the last piece I wrote out right before the class ended. So this is an affirmation to all poets, but most importantly myself, and it's called "They Ask Me If I'm a Poet." They ask me if I am a poet, like I'm supposed to be this way, talk this way, speak this way, be this way. I live by my own code, unturning every stone, listening to my ambitions run me wild. As I replay time in my own mind, maybe I made a wrong turn. Google Maps gave me the conclusion. Way back then, I knew English class was my first language. I never felt stupid in reading class. As each grade passed, I found myself engulfed in stories, parables, movies, always wanting to know the introduction and short story, envisioning me as the main character. It was easier to be them than my own character. You see, literature and I had a love affair back then, placing my insecurities on fake romances, reading, watching, believing in every word I read, from the Bible to my studies up until each job that made me listen to what the manager said. I made up in my mind a long time ago that I would never grow old, live under society's pressures, breaking, taking my joy for their own pleasure. Life, heartbreak, setbacks will do that to you. But boy, I'm happy I got back to you. I miss you, my friend. It all started with a paper and a pen. I never knew back then what I know now, the gift of gab. It is a work of art like me when I'm carefree. I'm finally getting back to the real me. No fake validations or checking the scale. This is me. I was meant for this. They ask me if I'm a poet, like I'm supposed to be this, be this way, talk this way, speak this way. I'll always be this way. My words are like brimstone and fire. Flame emotions speak through my soul, convicted with the feeling of being alone. That's how I know I am a poet.
Yes, I am a poet. Gonna pass the mic back to AJ1.
Now I'm gonna shoot it right on down to the boogeyman. Let's go, Boogie.
All right, this is for the brothers in the room and just for men in general. Title of this poem is Emasculation. I've cried in secret, stored tears in crevices of the heart that have begun to leak and dilute blood, pulse, and feeling. I've raged in hiding, tucked away anger in organs and limbs, limiting movement, possibilities, and life expectancy. I've swallowed emotions, forced them down the throat, digested them, and poisoned tongue, mind, and senses. I have lived the limitations of this so called manhood, and I am not happy here. Tears have emasculated more men than slavery. Emotions have incarcerated more men than prison. Mouths of women have testified to this. Mouths of women have been the jailers. Mouths that speak hunger for passion, vulnerability, sensitivity, honesty, the shedding of machismo and bravado. Mouths claiming that their thirst can only be conquered by the strength to cry and to admit limitations. But the same mouths say, sensitive men taste like sissies. Compassionate men taste like suckers. Honest men taste cruel. Strong men taste heartless. Vulnerable men taste weak. Average men taste undesirable. And emotional men taste like women. The same mouths question why they've never tasted a good man. Men construct boys not to cry, complain, or show emotion unless it's necessary, but never install the understanding to teach them when it's necessary. So boys don't cry, complain, or show emotion. Tired of being labeled crybaby, sick of being dismissed by ill men who dress them in, stop being a little girl insults. Planted in callousness, boys grow into petrified men who aren't proficient at intimacy, and they are demonized for it. Backed up tears crystallize into indifference. Hands that never touch with sensitivity punch in frustration. Mouths that never release vulnerability eat life and spit fire. Feet that never walk toward the truth run to lies. Humans who are not allowed to be human embrace the inhuman, are usually labeled animals, are usually referred to as men. Want to be human without punishment. Want to be gentle without ridicule. Understand that emotion is human. Tears are cleansing. Vulnerability is growth. Strength is honesty. Honesty is knowing the limitations of strength is not being able to carry the world. It is the willingness to use understanding before judgment, love before abandonment, and telling the truth to boys before they're disfigured into dysfunctional men who abuse their women and eat their young. I have cried in secret. I have raged in hiding. I have swallowed emotions. I've lived the so called limitations of this manhood, and I'm not happy here.
Yes.
Mm, mm. Oh man, thank you, brother. Thank you.
Yes. Dope. Dope, dope.
Um, that's that's real. That's real. Hey Lee, what's next?
The mic's on me. Next up to bless our mic again is Michael. You ready, Michael? Bless
Yes.
our mic.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Black woman, I apologize in advance and for the past, for any hurt I've caused because of my trauma. Black man, your mental health is important. You see, I can see now. It took me a while, I must confess, but I had to get this guilt off my chest. You see, I've been battling the dark cloud for as long as I could believe. Black man, cloud follows you. Even when you have glimmers of sunshine and feel like you're very fine, and then on the drop of a dime, you lose your juice. Stuck in your Batman and you lose your Bruce. Stuck in a line of fire and you cooked your goose. Maybe, just maybe, I bit off more than I could chew, knowing the long suffering that comes from this disease. Maybe I gave myself too much to do. Who knows? Screw you. When it comes to pushing Jesus away, I can nail it every time. Ducking undercover, trying to dwell up in my shrine in this makeshift fortress of mine. Maybe I should just close my eyes and make believe. I could ask Steve not to fire me, ask my poppy not to die, ask my eye not to cry from the bullshit in front of me. I let go and I let God. I let go and I let God. I let go and I let God. When do I get to be free? Not that anyone has enslaved me, but I have enslaved myself. You see, my master lives inside of this depressed mind. Tell my lips to move and they move. Tell my hands to clench and they clench. I spent so many days trying to think about ways how to overcome what has now become my worst enemy, me. But this is not me in the truest sense, no. See, this is too prideful to admit that I'm wrong, me, arrogant me, depressed me, pretending to be something I'm not me. This is woe is me. The world is burning and my bridges are soaked in gasoline, me. I'm going to be free one day. I've seen the perils of my most gifted thoughts for wrath to subliminal warfare. And despite the whole affair, I still believe that me will make us free. Could you believe that anything I've ever achieved has been in spite of me rather than because of me? Because sometimes me can't stand the sight of seeing me succeed, but I can and I will because his will says I will. And he might as well make a will because he doesn't have much time left. I plan on putting all distractions to bed. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I shouldn't have him in bed with me. I meant to say rest. And in spite of what was said, I can be a healthy me. I can be I am that I am. I am that I am. I am that I am. I repeat it 3 times like Beetlejuice in hopes that he becomes someone else. But in the end, it's still me. And we are still we. He must go. He doesn't serve the collective. His vision is narrow. And his thoughts are petty. But how do I let go of a bag that I've been holding on for so long that I don't know what life weighs like without it? How do I let go of someone who tells me every day I'm not who I am and who I am is nothing or no thing at all when I'm slowly tearing myself down? Is it simply a misstep or a never-ending graceful fall? But maybe the fall wouldn't be graceful at all if I acknowledge I had no one to call, no one to break my fall, no one to tell me that we all make mistakes and there's no worries at all. You catch my drift? It's like a window open with a never-ending drift blowing in my face, reminding me of my discomfort. I cheated on myself with things. I cheated on myself with mediocrity. I cheated on myself with everything I decided to do that wasn't in line with my purpose. And if it doesn't bring me closer to my maker, then what's the purpose? Poem.
Damn.
Fire. Fire. Thank you so much for that piece. Passing the mic back to AJ.
What you think of the show so far, Dre?
I think it's fire. I told you from the beginning, I already knew it was going to be dope. Everybody up here, this lineup, dope, 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 fire, fire, fire. They are
All stars. All stars.
all
Brother
stars.
Brandon, I'm gonna pass the mic to you, but I do have to ask you. This isn't the first time that I met you, is it? When you were speaking, I thought that you were in a studio or something. You in LA, right? Are
Me,
you in
I'm
it?
in LA, but I'm not sure when. Like, I live in the Inland Empire, but I've been in LA. I mean, I perform.
You've been in LA.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
yeah.
So
If,
it's a pleasure. I'm gonna pass the
um,
mic to you. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
yo. So I'm excited. I'm really torn. I've been going through like what poem should I do? Because I had the chance to share with this space before, and I did poems that some people have heard. Like I have my feature poem, like this little boy that goes with my book. I have another new poem called River that I've kind of performed, but I'm still working through. So I'm a little torn where I don't know what to perform.
Do this little boy. I love that poem.
Yeah. I was actually okay. All right. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, just making sure I'm still able to be heard. All right. Did it turn?
Yeah.
Yeah, it turned.
Did it turn back? There we go.
Yeah, yeah. That's it. That's it.
Y'all remember my first real poem? I sat at the computer while my tears stroked the keyboard, my pain unlaid within the stanzas, and my anger lashed out in metaphors. I repeated why from line to line, questioning the character and purpose, the God's design. Like this one individual couldn't belong to him. But I thought this one distributor of sorrows and agony couldn't be cut from the same cloth as me. I mean, had I arrived from those loins? And couldn't he see that my bloodshed didn't accept from which he came to be, but yet this was my reality? And it didn't belong in your picture perfect TV sitcom scene. I grew up in a different world where my family matters didn't fit and how my brother, mother, cousin, and uncle feel would shake up my wheel. See, I was no Fresh Prince, and my life was unfamiliar, so these different strokes would wither away in my good times. And I had no clue where I fit in. In fact, I had a skewed image of what a black man was supposed to look like. In fact, I didn't even like how I looked, so the image of anything was better than this. This is a story of an unidentified human project that was molded into something that nobody could recognize. He became a reflection of what was popular at the moment and always dressed in his best self-consciousness, wrapped in how many different shades of fake could his facade portray. Yet no one took notice. No eyes cut to his cuts that were more similar to battle wounds. He lay prostrate on a mattress made of empty solemnness. He dug holes into his soul, praying someone would come fill his voids, yet he didn't even know how to pray. He repeated practice redundancies, hoping someone heard him scream with urgency, please, help me. Yet silence begets silence, and it all muffled his destiny. This little boy was dying, and no one would come to his rescue. So this little boy had to discover how to tend to his own wounds. He was left mangled, a hideous atrocity. Yet if you look for his disfigurements, I promise that you wouldn't see. This little boy cried on the inside and was flooding internally and left little room for his feelings, so he wore his emotions on his sleeve. This little boy choked on his insecurities because he wasn't taught to swallow things like his pride. And he never understood why they called them memories, because he remembered everything as if life was stuck on repeat, as if life was stuck on repeat, as if life was stuck on repeat, as if life was stuck on repeat. This little boy followed the wrong path because for a minute the road to death seemed a little more pleasing. This little boy thought accolades and self-humiliating behaviors would make life more easy. This little boy was poisoned by pornography and thought love was spelled S-E-X, so he tried to repeat the things he would see. This little boy was lonely and would constantly talk to strangers because at least they heard him speak. This little boy still survives, although he tried to die repeatedly. I'll introduce you to this little boy because he still resides inside of him. Hi, I'm this little boy. Nice to meet you.
Woo!
Powerful.
Fire.
Powerful. So I realized today in this program that I'm the only one that don't know nobody except Drea and Matri. I'm over here if everybody is not familiar with Matri. No, we all featured up from here with Matri. So yeah, it's a pleasure meeting everybody. I'm blown away, per usual. I can't wait to get up and do my thing with y'all. So, Brandon, incredible. That's anthemic. Every one of us from 8 to 80 should hear that. Man.
Yeah.
Hey, Lee, mic's on you.
Next, coming up to the mic is Now, this guy is phenomenal, and his gift needs to be shared with the entire world. And he's a co-host. Next up to the mic, AJ1.
One.
Look at my brother. It's just a pleasure being here. I'm a student of poetry, and I'm a student of listening actively. And my brother Matry and I, we love freestyling. We love the thrill, the pressure, the endangerment, piecing everything together because it's like jazz. You know, it's phenomenal because we're tapping into the ancestors and they're moving through us. And when we listen, they'll guide us. So on that note, St. Deal, melanin coated and habit forming, amused with a mic that ain't real. But seriously, trust this propensity to flush the main artery using art with pure heart to eradicate generational poverty, freedom and film, to form fusions in truth by burning illusions. My mind is Morpheusing, matrixing, treating that trickle. She be the teacher, a delta, unlocking magic boxes, survivor and all around socializer, melodic, smooth and black, becoming other womaning but grooving it back. The cadence is tasty. The homie Mike Matry, freestyle and fellowship. We Siamese, dual beasts, brothers eternal on some mellow shit. Pan African spoken fest, man happening, poetry flow the best. Trauma bonding and sparring with G.O.D. He the OG. Up from here and far from hell, fire in the inland empire, in the jazz lounge of Raquel, black woman and man. He let go and let God set the plan. He the Mike and Michael. He the tree and Matry. Attention commanding like my brother Brandon Allen. We namesaking, despite you spelling yours wrong. What ain't wrong is how you living up against the angst and struggle and lesson. You question, what about just giving up? Beginning not so humble in Memphis, Tennessee. When you listen to the bones and thunder speaking, the journey persevered is where a winner be. Damp, dank, and froze was how your winter be. From homeless to penning poems nationally known, fresh, your pursuit of liberty is how you enter free. Rescue this generation, brother, and be our inspiration. A pleasure to build off your blues. Let's groove tonight, like Earth, Wind, and Fire, who brought us a wonderland called Boogie. Not the one who's hip hop for life and Cleveland bred, the nomad. Jay Rucker been a motherfucker, National Post Slam, so high though. Pride of Ohio, silver, platinum, and gold. Dear James is the critically acclaimed mixed media dramedy Told. And there you go. Speaking on our relationship with time, remember that? And how it was conceived in our mind. Spitting the declaration of emasculation, waving the ballpoint tip like a conductor stick. As a maestro, Deshaun, love of word and mosaic mixtapes buzzing. Pleasure to meet you. That's my new cousin. He be on Black Love, Chi-Town design, Long Beach refined, Midwest to a West Side sentiment. And Janae, you just different. Embryo rooted in Lexington, North Carolina, asking does she matter, made of matter, mark the date of December 9er. Sister is a painter. 4-word published author with a PhD in the glory of the Father. 360 degrees, we circle 4. Assured and as sacred as a Surah, I chant the lovely handle of Keturah. From Carbondale to Pitt, unveil the real skill armored by Grandma Funny. We moving beyond the basketball shit. Couture Vector is a walking no fear factor. Sports marketer, writer, and philanthropist. She found her voice. Although desensitized and colorblind in the eyes, life led you to us here, and your presence is our blessing. Artists reflected in connection and with the spirit is how we dance in this. It's a boogie down production. So we clear with St. Deal, Maestro, Janae, Matry, A. Lee, Q4, Couture, and the One, pouring some to the brothers and sisters who ain't here.
What?
Fire. Woo. Woo. Let's get back to this mic. We got to cool it off. Up next, Maestro. Bless our mic again. Thank you so much for that piece, AJ.
AJ, I gotta say that's phenomenal, and it's funny because that's how I met Michael Matry. We were riffing at Cultural Cool together. That was the first time I'd ever met him, and like that's just all love when I see a poet or a rapper or a singer who just off the cuff and just do magic like that. That was amazing. I want to thank you, Andrea, for the invitation. You are a person who believes and supports community, so I really am grateful for that. It's also humbling to be amongst such talented poets and thought leaders. You guys are all amazing, and I look forward to working with all of you. Before I do sets, I usually try to do an affirmation. So I know y'all muted and stuff, but y'all can say it at home. I am love.
I am love.
I am light.
I am light.
I am peace.
I am peace.
I am joy.
I am joy.
I am limitless.
I am limitless.
I am free.
I am free.
Take that with you wherever you go. This piece I'm going to do is one of my favorites. It's called a lover's anthem, and it's a love piece. So I hope y'all enjoy it. Baby, since the day you came into my life, you made me realize that we were born to fly. You showed me every day new possibilities and proved my fantasies and love can really be. I hear the song you sing and I wish to be the harmony so that we can be on one accord. As the bass drops, I hear your body groove to the tune, and I just want to be the one to move with you. Our hearts beat in sync, and even when we breathe, we're still in unison. Because, baby, your love is musical, and I refuse not to be a part of the chorus, or better yet, the duet, because you know it was written for the two of us. You take the high, and I'll take the low, because I know this composition was meant to be, and together we can make MUSIC, the love. And here it sounds so profoundly put. The melodies continue to play love symphony, and when I gaze into your eyes, I know that we're meant to be together. Singing the aria that was meant to be sung by two parts, making beautiful music as our hearts join as one, accompanying one another so that when we're apart, it'll still be our song we're thinking of, because this anthem wasn't only written by the two of us, but orchestrated by love. And that's that piece.
Thank you so much for that beautiful piece.
Indeed, indeed.
Yes. Positive affirmations. AJ, bring up
Yes, ma'am.
our next poet. Bless him.
I think the next poet is the one that was in the car, chilling in the mix. I'm blasting that rap off. So, what did you think of that? What did you? Because I was like, yo, I got something for you for your birthday, for your show, and then I heard another voice. I said, what's going on here? Got two voices going on. Oh, that's my friend Janae. It's nothing to say. I'm gonna just pass the mic over to you right there,
Nah. So like anybody that knows me, knows I'm choosing hip hop before everything else. Like people like, you don't listen to gospel. And I'm like, this is gospel. Like, that's the word with dope beats. Like, so like, I mean, I go to sleep to it, I eat to it, I go to the gym with it. So like, if I don't like it, I'm going to tell you, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I cannot let you do hip hop like that. I cannot let you think you're going to step in the ring with some whack shit and you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to be battle ready, battle tested. Like, so I got to hear the creativity. I got to hear that you read. I got to hear that you pay attention. You know what I'm saying? I got to hear that you have intention. So, yeah. So when I heard it, because I'm all prepared to like, this about to be whack. Because mad people tell you they rhyme and you be like, okay. So then the more it kept going, I was like, nah. Because at first I'm like, that ain't even for me. He talking to her, so I'ma chill. You was like a third of the way through. I was like, I can't even. Like, if you had 2 more bars, I was just like, nah, let me stop you. Like, run that back. So yeah, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
That's good.
This piece is short. It's called Man. And sometimes like God gives me all my stuff, but sometimes he gives me, and I'll be like, okay, if I don't sit down and write this now, I'm gonna forget it. So a few years ago, I was at work. I was like, Jesus, I need you to wait until I get home. So when I got home, I wrote it down. Man, man like stone, man like mountain, man like blood and bone, man, man like weather, cold and slate gray, man like steel, sharp and double-edged both ways, man, man like hard, man like beast, man like charred, man, man like rough, man like still, man like tough, man with heat hot like noon, man with voice deep, barrel chest boom, man, man like God made, man like on face to Jesus, man like man saved.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's pass the mic. Hey, Lee.
Next, coming up to the mic is Saint Deal. Bless her
Same
mic
deal.
again. Saint Deal, are you there? Okay. So, I have a question for the poets. What made you choose poetry, and when did you know that it was your gift? Let's start with Boogie.
Okay. I'm gonna quote Baldwin. Baldwin said, "I said, how'd you find writing?" He said, "I didn't." He said, "I stumbled on writing, and writing found me." Um, Literally 5th grade. I hated my English teacher. She hated me. Just straight. Look, I never really liked my English teachers, and so we did poetry section, and she skipped over the entire class, and she said, "It's the last day, and we're not gonna do something without hearing Mr. Rucker's poem." And I'm just like, yo, I'm not reading the poem. You can't make me do it. And it was a haiku. After I read the haiku, she asked me to stay after school. And she asked me for the haiku. And I'm just like, why? Like, am I in trouble? What you gonna do with it? And she said, that's the most beautiful thing any kid has ever written. And she said, and I guarantee you, as long as I'm teaching, your haiku will be on my wall. And so I thought all of a sudden poetry was magic and it can make people who hate you love you. So I started writing stuff for all, I'm like, I'm writing all these haikus for all my teachers. So when I get in trouble, I can get out of trouble. And then I realized that poetry became my first best friend, my first girlfriend, my first therapist, everything. It was who I talked to when I couldn't talk to anybody else. And literally, I've not been able to stop. Like, you can tell how I'm doing by whether or not I'm writing. When I'm not writing, I don't care what's going on in my life. I'm not writing, I'm not happy. I'm not content. I'm not everything. So, I don't know if I'm really a writer or I'm just indentured servant to it. But like, if I don't write, I can't be, And so I found out it was a talent when people said I had a talent. I never thought I had a talent. I thought I was writing out a need. And then people like, no, you're gifted. And when you're little, you think everybody patronizing you. Oh, you just saying that because I'm a kid and you want to know my stuff is terrible. So you say, and especially when your mother say it, because you can be the most homely person on the planet. My baby's so beautiful. And so I was just like, I'm like, whatever. And then literally, the more people got my stuff, the more people, my mother stole it and put it out and everything. And then people kept saying, you're talented. But honestly, it wasn't till after I won the poetry slams in the Apollo that I actually started believing I was talented, because I thought my friends was just like telling me I was good because well, you got to do it. Let's just humor them. And the more people told me I was successful, I was like, oh, because I used to have an inferiority complex about my writing. I used to write because I never thought what I wrote was good enough. So it took me a minute to realize I had a talent. So, that went into college. Before, I just wrote out of necessity. So, long story long, but that's it.
Thank you so much for that. It's something great when people see something in you and then you
Most
can
definitely.
see it in yourself. That's a great story. All right. Janae, same question.
Same question. That's a loaded weapon. You ask a room full of verbose, talented, gifted people about their journey, and they're gonna write you a book. But so mine was AJ mentioned I'm from Lexington, North Carolina. We have a barbecue festival. Like, it's very small. You graduate with the people you start kindergarten with, and so I would get picked on by my siblings for like reading and other things I like because they like to play outside. So when I was compelled, like, I would hear the verses, and now I know that was God, but I didn't know at the time. I didn't want one more thing to make me different. So I would not be able to sleep sometimes. I would write them down and then I would throw them away. I would sneak and throw them away because I wrote just kind of like to clean them out of my spirit, but I didn't want anybody to know about it. So um, in my early 20s, I started writing, and getting out there a little bit, but I still had the stigma that I didn't realize. So I get married. I'm married for about 10 years. And I had told the Lord, it seems like I don't have an identity. Whatever my husband wanted to do, I would do with my sisters, because I had learned to form myself. Like, I was the master of malleable. I had learned to form myself to whatever relationship I was in and lose myself. But I never completely went away, to my dismay at the time. And so when I started writing, then I had told the Lord I don't have an identity. And he said, okay, I'm going to take care of that for you. But what I realized after a while was he was bringing things back to me that I loved as a kid. I loved horses. I was never around horses, and just so many other things, Westerns and words. And I said, it seems like you bringing back stuff from when I was young. And he said, because I didn't make any mistakes with you. I meant for you to be who I sent you here as. You're supposed to love hip hop and horses and westerns and cooking and painting and words. So when I started writing, I used to didn't I used to not write because it made me different. So I took the name different because I embraced that I was made different on purpose. Even my name, Janae, is like Jehovah's net, and I'm supposed to gather and catch people for him. So now I know and I have accepted that that's who he made me to be. And poetry is just one of the hooks for me to say, hey, God loves you. He's real. He can make your life so much more than you ever dreamed it would be. I mean, were it not for him, I wouldn't be on here with you guys right now. I wouldn't have this friendship with Couture and Andrea. So that's how I came to be where I am. And when the cap was, I looked up the word different, and because you usually hear it in context, you don't really, look up the meaning, and it says set apart for special use. And I said, that's the same definition as sacred. So I embraced all of it. So that's how this came to be.
Thank you so much for that. Michael, same question.
Wow, I'm over here like fully like, and everybody's responses are so beautiful. Um, so for me, I was in high school and I had a really good friend that was part of my church youth group. Grew up in church and church youth group and all that. And one day he was playing basketball and he dropped dead on the basketball court. Just heart stopped, done. He couldn't have been, he wasn't even 16 years old. He was about 14, 15. So we were in charge as the church youth group because we were all one big tight unit, right? We were in charge to do the whole funeral for him. So I'm talking teenagers holding the casket, like the whole youth group was, facilitated everything from beginning to end. And of course, we had some coaching from the mentors and the adults. And it was the first time ever I spoke in front of any crowd. I was handed a speech, and I was supposed to be the one doing, the eulogy for the funeral. And so it was written for me, and it was a speech. But when I read it and I internalized it, to me, it became a poem. And I didn't know it was a poem at the time. I just knew that I was supposed to deliver these words in a certain format, in a certain way that really like hit the crowd, And, here I am at like 14 years old, in front of the whole congregation doing this eulogy, and I read it like a poem. Like they weren't my words, but I flipped around the words and I read it like very poetically, growing up listening to Edgar Allan Poe and all these original poets. Like I did it like a poem. And of course, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, man, the circumstances are crazy, but there's something about this feeling, and I knew it was not just a matter of just writing it. I knew it was a matter of performing it. It was something about performing it that was just as exhilarating because I didn't even write that, but it was something about the performance of that. And then when I began to start writing my own, I got the full spectrum from beginning to end. So, yeah, poetry is always something that's like, wow, the performance part of it is really big for me because I feel like that's how I started. I didn't start off writing. I started off performing.
That's deep. That's really deep. Amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brandon, same question.
Sorry, my technology was tripping, but to be specific, the question is, how'd you start writing poetry?
Yes.
So I'll tell everybody, because it's the reality. Poetry saved my life. I started writing poetry in second grade. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. I lived in an area called Bartlett. I was the only black kid in my entire area, in my entire school, the only black kid in my neighborhood. And a lot of my experience was dealing with like the trauma of racism, being isolated, being ostracized, also growing up in a household filled with uh, toxic masculinity, abuse, physically, emotionally, pain, like feeling like there was no place safe. Like I battled with depression at a very young age. In middle school, I actually tried to commit suicide twice. I tried in seventh grade, um, and both times were failed attempts. And I was writing. At this time, I started like doing um, like theater and stuff. So I started writing these poems, and they were really dark, like super dark poems. And like I would always flip it at the end because I was afraid if somebody ever would see, I'd get in trouble. So I'd write this really dark poem, but then I'd be like, haha, just kidding. Like at the very end of it. I showed a friend one day in my art class, and I told my friend, don't share with anybody, don't tell anybody. Like it's between me and you. They said, of course. Of course, they lied. They told the teacher, and the teacher pulled me outside, and the teacher said, this is kind of concerning. This is a little bit scary, in fact, and we kind of have two options. They said we can either call your mom, your dad, the principal, pull a lot of people into this space, or you can keep writing poetry and you can share with me. So I started writing my poetry and sharing it with my teacher. And that was when I realized that I didn't have to inflict pain on myself. I could tell the story of the pain and let it go.
Thank you so much for trusting us with that story. I know someone out there watching or listening needs to hear all of us and why poetry is important and how poetry saved our life. A lot of us. Katora, same question. Thank you so much, Brandon.
Yes, yes. So I gotta give the flowers to Brandon right now, because at the conference he doesn't know how much he truly blessed me sharing his story, because for so long I kept my story to myself, and I felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders as a child, started as a kid. And I think when you go through so much in your life, you don't even know that you are depressed, because you have to keep moving forward. It started with me as a child. Um, both my grandmas on my mom's side, she's still living. She's 85 years old. She's the one who really encouraged me to write. And my grandma Funny, she passed away when I was 9. She seen the gift on me at an early age. But just like Brandon's story, when you have a broken household and you have things going on, and you're the only black kid at all white schools. I was the only black graduate in my high school, in my class. I was one of 3 in my grade school at St. Bede. My parents were separated. I was angry. I was frustrated. I was failing out of St. Bede. They called my mom in and was telling her, you got to get her involved in something, because this is becoming, crazy. And my mom was a choir director, so she was in the church, and it was like I had to find an identity crisis from me going to Catholic school and then going to church 3 times a week at Pentecostal, and I felt no way to express myself. So I used that anger and viewed it into basketball. But like most kids that suffer in our community, they think you're not encouraged to write. You're not encouraged to be in class. You're not encouraged to become something more than an athlete, or things that you see, or narratives that you see. And my father wasn't in the household, so I felt my mom had the weight of the world on her shoulders. So I really didn't have any direction. I had to find myself. So I used basketball as that fuel throughout that whole time. And I tore my ACL, tore my meniscus, lost every D1 scholarship that I received. It was over 30. I was depressed. I was hurt. My mom passed away with stage 4 cancer. I, I I was at a point of, God, why are you doing this to me? Like, why am I going through all these changes and all these things, and then going to college and going through life by myself, feeling no support from family, just like so many other people that go through life and feel like they have nobody. So when you guys say poetry found me, I think poetry has always been with me since I was a child, with my mom singing songs, struggling from me through basketball, listening to so many songs that I think that I used to just write and just say so many things that I just kept to myself. Journals, so many different pieces of myself that I felt like I couldn't show, because I could perform on the basketball court. I felt like that was my stage. So now poetry is my stage. And I never thought in a million years, if you would have asked me last year, that I would be right here in this moment with all you guys, you amazing creatives, poets, educators, like teachers of life. I never would have thought I would have got to this moment, because society, and honestly, where I live, being a dreamer, you keep those things to yourself. It's not encouraged. It's not. So meeting Janae and Andrea, and Andrea, like, it was, you don't know, you guys were God sent. I wasn't even going to make it to the conference because I lost somebody close to me. What this next piece will be about, but I don't want to go too long. But honestly, poetry found me. when I needed poetry the most, and it saved my life. And I thank God for every single one of you guys, because you just don't know how much you are a blessing to me.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Maestro, same question.
So I guess it was an indirect way how I started poetry. When I was a young child, my mom used to make up songs and stuff for us to remember things like mnemonics, to remember scriptures and remember different things about like how to get back to the house from school. And she make up these little songs. And I think that idea of songwriting or just writing in general was rooted with my mom. In the 7th grade, we had a poetry contest / class assignment, and I remember my mom helping me, but I promise you it was trash. But the following year, my 8th grade year, my best friend at the time, Marshall, had a mom who was going through a lot of things, and he was just on the phone telling me all the stuff that they were going through. And I remember writing An Echo in the Mountain. And that was my very, very first poem. It's in a book. I never actually performed it, but I just remember that being like, I'm proud of this poem. This is a piece that I can say this is a actual poem. But fast forward to college, I used to have what I call my rant book. Like I still wasn't like necessarily a performance poet. I wrote a lot of stuff in books, but I didn't perform. And I started an organization called Sudden Impact Inc. And it was singers, poets, musicians, dancers. And there were 2 poets that were just phenomenal. One was Gabby Lee. Another one was Arana Browning, now Lopez. And I just would watch them and be just so amazed at how they could just take words and command the stage. And I was like, so one day we were in rehearsal for an upcoming show, and I think it was Arana. She found my book, and she was like, whose book is this? She's like, all these poems and stuff. And I was like, no, I'm not really poems. I'm a rants, like I'm just getting some stuff off my chest. But I remember writing Broken Silences, and a couple of my brothers are on this live, so I know they probably could attest to this. I was coming home from college, and I locked myself in the bathroom, and I just was writing. I was like, I just needed some solace. I needed a place, and I just took it, and I was just writing and writing. And that piece eventually became Broken Silences. I think it's a lot of pain, it's a lot of joy, it's a lot of peace, it's a lot of things over the years. And I feel like poetry became my healing and my therapy before I even knew therapy. Like I just need to release these words, these feelings. I don't know what it is, what this is going to become, but I need to release it. And I think that just over time and just being encouraged and surrounded by poets. Like Michael Matry, you inspire me. Andrew, you inspire Boogie, Brandon, all of you on this stage, you inspire me. But all of the poets back home in Chicago, Caleb the poet, Malik Youssef, Emerald Green, like all of these people, and there's so many other people I probably could name, but like it was watching these people command the stage, watch these people take their pain and turn it into purpose. I was like, I want to do that. And there has been so much that brings me back to the stage now. We lost my nephew last year at 4 months. And that's like, whatever his purpose was in those 4 months he was here with us, I feel like God has given me the capacity and the gift to still be here and share words and share stories and share just my unique perspective of the world. And in order to be light in the world, you have to experience darkness. So all of that darkness that has come over the years of coming out of, transitioning to a new city, to owning who I am as an artist, all of those things have been pieces of the puzzle to create who Maestro is as an artist today. So, I mean, yes, there's some sadness that brought us, but it's also some joy that brought me to this moment. And, I'm grateful for every piece of it, because I don't think any of it would have made me, if I didn't have all of it, I wouldn't have been the same person that I am. So when I go to a space and I get to share a lover's anthem or share Broken Silences, they're 2 very different pieces, but at the end of the day, they reach people in a specific way. And I'm grateful to be a part of that. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure being in a space with you. Same deal. Same question. Okay, guys. So we've been on here for quite a while and it was beautiful. We're going to have to do a part two so we can finish those poems. Stay on, don't log off. We're going to have a little discussion after the show, the credits run. But AJ, do you have any closing words? And do you want to share your story of why you became a poet and how poetry found you? Or was it with you always?
My story is bits and pieces of everyone's story. I was listening and connecting, and that's what has brought me to the calling. Mama was a soul train dancer. I always tell that story. When I was 5 years old, I'm sitting there listening to Parliament Funkadelic, uh, Al Green in the front row, and I'm hearing the sounds, hearing the words, and this little boy with the Kentucky Fried Chicken and Tab soda is just immersed in everything, and uh, taught myself to read at 2 years old, skipped second and fourth grade. So I was just in love with the language. And then I was in love with rhythm and soul. Every time I turn on the TV, I'm watching Electric Company. I'm picking up a Dr. Seuss book. I'm hearing Easy Reader. Before Morgan Freeman was Morgan Freeman, he was Easy Reader in Electric Company, rhyming all the time, Fat Albert. So uh, I used to make menus for my mother. I used to cook like 9, 10 years old, and I would just write these greeting cards at 9 years old, 10 years old. And when I became a man, there was this girl who became close to me, but she was so impressed with Showtime at the Apollo. You hear what I'm saying, Boogeyman? Huh? So
Yeah.
she would be watching. She said, "Oh, this girl, Jessica Care Moore, she fire. She doing this piece called Black Girl Juice." I said, "What?" Yeah, she's the only one to win on Showtime at the Apollo. She won 3 weeks in a row. So I'm working as a security guard, graveyard shift at Grace Peck Terrace at this uh, apartment building with veterans and seniors. So I got nothing but time on my hands. I said, so Jessica Care Moore did this Black Girl Juice. I'm gonna do a piece called Barbecue Sauce, Beautiful Black Queen Sauce, and I'm gonna bring it back to her. That's my first poem that I had written, that I had structured together, and I took it to her to see if I was impressive enough. And I said, yeah, what about this right here? This is, I wish I remembered that piece. Matry, I don't have that piece, man. I know you like, come to Up From Here, man, to do that piece, Barbecue Sauce. I did 8 pieces. I wrote 8, and each one was a course in an 8-course meal. And I just really loved the language. I love being able to homeschool my children. Got 4 sons and homeschooled them, and I said oral communication is one of the most powerful attributes and talents and skills that you can have. You might not have all the trades in pocket, but if you know how to speak, how to listen, how to read, and how to write, you good. You good anywhere. You understand? So as long as you understand and you gather the importance of that and you incorporate, for me, it was my love and obsession with rhythm. Everything I do and say has to do with being in the pocket, being on the one. My name is One. My children's name, One. Their names, Kadase, Kana, Kiros, Kumani. It's like a chant. I had to create poetry in the names of my children. So it was a calling. It was a calling, and this is day 97 of I'm writing 366 poems, one poem per day, from April 1st until March 30th of next year. This is day 97, and it's all good. This is what it is, and since I'm gonna live my life through this gift and this skill that God gave me, then I know we're gonna be good. It's been a pleasure with everybody, Maitri. You know, we this is it. Consider this the divinity that brings us on stage together to do the things we got to do. It ain't no more excuses over here. I ain't got nothing to say to you now other than here we go.
All I got
Saint
is
Dill is
confidence
back.
is you can't run from me, man.
Yes. So
Yeah, it ain't happening.
we're gonna let her tell us why she chose poetry or poetry chose her. Saint Dill, you there?
Yes, I'm here. I am here. Sorry, y'all. Hold on. Y'all can't see me, huh? There we go. Here I am. My dog is in here too because he woke up. So I've been dealing with him. That's like my son. So he gotta go to the bathroom. He gotta go to the bathroom. But poetry definitely chose me because my life has been a lot of different things. A lot of triumph and a lot of obstacles to push past, but obstacles that turn into testimony. Like I said, I grew up here, South Central LA. I'm also a former foster youth. So I grew up in foster care since the age I was 2, since I can remember. My biological mother, father was on drugs, that narrative. And so my grandparents raised me. And then when I was from like 10 to 14, trigger warning, my grandfather, my biological grandfather, basically raped me from 10 to 14. So from that obstacle, negative life experience, I basically kind of like, well, I did end up telling my grandmother at the time, but nothing happened. So it was pretty much just living in darkness and kind of like pretending, with other people, right? Like still having to be around my abuser and all those different things, pretending like family, going to church, these people holding offices in the church, that whole nine, like really pretending. So from living in the darkness, I went to college. I went to UC Berkeley for undergrad, and I almost lost my life in sophomore year. Like I had developed this illness where I believe it was my throat chakra because I hadn't spoken my truth because I had gotten tonsillitis 6 times in 2 months. And so it was to a point where my throat closed up and I didn't eat anything but a Go-Gurt packet, one Go-Gurt packet in a whole entire week. I lost 20 pounds in a week and I was a fitness trainer. I was 165 solid steel. I was deadlifting 250 and I only weigh 140. Like, and I lost 20 pounds in a week, basically starving to death. My partner at the time had to rush me to the hospital. It's like a crazy, scary movie. And they basically did emergency surgery on my throat to open the passageways and allow me to breathe again and to like lower my blood pressure. It was just a crazy time. And from that moment, I started going to therapy and I was diagnosed and surveyed all my mental illness and stuff. But I was able to advocate for myself because I started to gain the knowledge and the language of the things that I was going through and speaking my truth. And by the time I went to grad school in New York at Columbia, I had transferred to another therapist that by the time I got to her, I had pressed charges. I'm currently kind of in the middle of like a legal case against my grandfather, but I'm ending a generational curse because apparently by me doing this and coming out in public, I'm not the only one in the family that this happened to. So with that being said, my poetry is my calling for healing. It's a calling to help people in the world who not only have dealt with sexual violence and abuse, but just any type of trauma in general, really. And not outside of trauma, that rebirth, right? You become a new person, like, and being a woman, that's why I write erotic poetry, because I had to develop a whole new relationship with my body, a whole new relationship with my sexuality, and all of those different complicated things that I continue to work towards. And so I started writing in my creative writing class in high school when I was 16 years old. In full circle moment, I went to an Alliance College Ready public school. I teach at an Alliance College Ready public school. So I teach in the same charter district that I went to, basically got my start. And I did have the experience of teaching at Dorsey too, which is, a public LAUSD school that's also at risk, but it's basically because it's our Black children who don't get as many resources. And so being there and being with the youth, I also found that particular calling in poetry education and film education, and bringing this healing medium to the youth in general, because they really need it. And I did want to share this one poem with y'all real fast, if that's okay. It is called. So this one. I'm looking on my phone because this is volume 2. I don't have a proof yet, but like I said, it will be available. But this piece right here is one of my personal favorites because it's very personal to me, and yeah, it's very explanatory. This one is called Between the Lines. My love rests in the blank spaces between the lines on the pages of your heart, making meaning where meaning has yet to be made, expressing feelings where feelings are yet to be felt. I made the magic dance on your blank pages, filled them up with words and actions of affirmations and validations, filled the landscape so you will never fill the voids, never filling those empty spaces. Spaces that lie between those lines, making meaning only we could comprehend. And still, our love story came to an end. You balled me up, leaving me to fill this empty space. Threw me away like I was never stuck on the white in between those lines with you. Our love story kissed the white of those pages so delicately, intending to make a lasting impression on your memory, shifting the energy from misery to a more heightened frequency. We had power between those lines that tried to confine us to a single space, but our love grew and took up the page, one after the other, turning black from the ink of happiness and bliss, capturing the love between those lines, left to marry the love in your heart, healing the broken pieces in mine, healing pieces that only we could put together. Puzzle me this: when did the divide between those lines become not enough to carry the weight of this love? Erasing all that was built, all that was broke, blotting and denying any last hope that this love will last. You balled me up, crushing every beautiful part. Threw me away like I was never stuck on the white in between those lines with you. Told me my love was good enough, but to love yourself seemed to be too rough. I loved you anyways because you were human. Too real to be true, I sat back and watched our love begin to haunt you. Like fright from seeing a ghost in the dark, you searched for ways to deal with the terror, but the error of our love seemed to have stained our page forever. You balled me up, bruising every bit of my love. Threw me away like I was never stuck on the white in between those lines with you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you all so much for being brave enough to share your stories. I know that it helped a lot of people out there. And I want to invite all of you guys back to, you guys are so phenomenal, so dope. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I'm telling you, we are going to do great things in this poetry world together. It's the artist connection. So it's just not about poetry, it's about every single gift you have. I really, really appreciate you sharing your story, Simone. A lot of women need that. It was really difficult for me to share the different things that I went through in my life until I started going to the classes and being open enough. I still haven't shared everything, but I'm getting to that point, and you guys just give me that courage to do so. Also, I am in the running for favorite chef. I am currently winning. I think I have 2 more weeks. So if you see it on my page, please vote for me. And you guys come out and support Simone. I'm going to cook so you guys will be able to taste my amazing food. I'm not just saying that because I make it. Everything I do with love. And I appreciate all of you guys. Stay on till the credits roll off so we can talk a couple of minutes later. Q, you can end the show. But I